Hello, investor community. This is Liz. You are here for a webinar. Welcome, welcome. We're just getting our presenter on, and we're going to get going in a few minutes. But welcome in the chat box as you're joining here. Please share where you are calling in from, what state, what area. It is almost noon here on the East Coast. Excited to have you all on. And I'm going to promote Mandy, but yeah, excited to see everyone here. Guatemala with Sarah Weaver, the wonderful Sarah Weaver. Awesome, Brittany. Very cool. From Colorado. Awesome. Hey.
Oh, hi.
How are you?
Oh, just living my best life, Liz. How are you?
I got to take a picture of my my setup I have. I just found a place in the airport away from everyone. And I'm like, I have like a little makeshift office, you know? It's what we do here. Couldn't miss this. I couldn't miss this presentation, but excited to have you on, Mandy. Welcome everyone as you're joining us. We have a few minutes. Welcome to an investor webinar. Mandy's gonna be talking about such a cool project that her and Julie have just completed. So cool. So I'm personally very excited to learn from her. But welcome. Please share where you're calling in from, what you're excited about, what's going good in your life, anything you want to share, really. But we're excited that you're here with us. And how are you doing, Miss Mandy?
Just living a dream. I too am a multitasking wizard right now. I'm packing up my office because I'm moving primary residence. So, you know, just let's do all of the things all at once. You know,
so are you moving close or are you moving far?
Not far, like 15 minutes just to get my kiddo in a different school district. But I'm digging your haircut, homegirl. That looks real nice.
I got my haircut. Yeah, you know, trying to. I'm like, I turned a new birthday. My birthday was a few weeks ago, so I just said, how can I look a little younger? So at least I feel younger, right?
You look great.
Sweet. Cool. So I'm just checking in from folks here.
I love it.
Under the dryer at the salon, but I'm ready. Hey, that's awesome. Who's that? Deborah? Hey, Deborah. Victoria from San Diego. I'm going to be in San Diego. Are you going to go to Bigger Pockets BPCon in the fall, in October, Mandy?
It's on my list. I've had a few friends contact me and want to strong arm me into it. I know so many people in San Diego that.
Okay. Well, I'm going. You need to go.
Well, there you go. It's done deal now.
Virginia, hey Stacy, hey Kate, Teresa. So excited to have everyone on. Very cool. We'll give everyone another minute. Something we hold ourselves very true is that we'd like to start on time. We like to end on time. We'll be respectful of everyone's schedules. So I'll just give everyone a minute. But actually it's noon, so I'm going to get rolling here. Hey Rita. I know Rita. Hey Siobhan. Was one of our meetup leaders. Okay, cool. I'm going to share, and can you share your screen? I'm going to share my screen, but are you able to share your screen?
Yep, it says that I can. Yep.
You can, okay, perfect. So I'm going to get going here. I know Mandy has so much in store for us, and this is such a great topic because it's a real case study. And I love that because it's not just theory. This is literally something that you just did. And I think in today's economy, this is the play. You know, conversions, creativity, out of the box. How do you add value in a different way? Where most people are turning their heads, how do you say, okay, this could be something? So I think that's the play right now, especially with everything going on. It's really the play anytime, but especially now when everyone's just staring at a traditional multifamily property, right? So I love this topic. I'm going to share my screen really quick and go through just some very, very quick slides about our community. Because what's interesting is people don't know really everything we're doing. So I want to just make sure for those who are new to our community, thank you for joining us. This is the wonderful Mandy. I'm going to introduce her in a moment. So here's what we stand for. And I'm literally going to go through these pretty quick so we can get to Mandy's presentation. But for those who are not familiar with who we are and what we do, our mission is to empower women to live a financially free and balanced life on their own terms. And we do that through creating an intimate global platform. And we're growing. So we're right now mostly in the United States, but our goal is to create a global platform for women to have a safe space to get what they need. We have a podcast released twice a week. It's part of the Bigger Pockets network. And we just had our highest month actually in April in terms of downloads, which was really cool. And we release 2 episodes a week. So check those out. We do those. We have meetups across the country, 56 locations we're at about. And those are just literally circles of women coming together to give and get support. So definitely check those out. We have our Strive membership. I wanted to mention that briefly because Mandy's one of our pod mentors. We are so fortunate to have her as a mentor, where she teaches a workshop every month, and then has an accountability call. So it's high accountability mentorship. We're going to be opening our doors actually at InvestHerCon. I'm sure you heard about this through our Facebook group, but we literally have a free Facebook group, 12,000 women, I think we're at this point. But really women are there to give and get, see some really cool chatter always going on in that community. And if it's not, we usually take it down if it's not useful or helpful. We're pretty diligent with that. We're always having events. We continually do events, free events. And like today, and we also have an EXP team for those agents who are looking to maybe invest, and to also not just be an agent, but also invest. We've created a team around that model, and we're constantly investing. Justin and I are both active investors. All of our mentors are investors. So those are all important things. I just looked at a few deals today about something. And then lastly, before I give the mic, if you will, the metaphorical mic to Mandy, I just want to mention we are 22 days away from InvestHerCon. You should see my email inbox. Like literally, we have so much going on, preparing, pouring into to get ready for this 2-day transformational event. Mandy's going to be speaking. We have so many amazing women speaking. We have Kim keynoting, Kim Kiyosaki, and it's just going to be just a phenomenal 2 days. And we're just working real hard to make that happen. So I hope you can join us. If you have on the fence, just come play with us, play full out. We're doing this for you. So it's in Charlotte, June 23rd, 24th, and you can go to our website to get your ticket, but it's gonna be pretty amazing. So without further ado, I'm gonna introduce the wonderful Mandy here. I had the pleasure of connecting with Mandy about 4 years ago or so. We went to an event together, and I went to an event in Chicago and she was there. And when you meet people, you're like, this lady's amazing. And I like a lot of people actually, because I'm quite extroverted, but Mandy was special. Her ability to know her craft, to know investing, to share, and also do it in such a entertaining but also educational way is a very rare trait in people and mentors and in people in our space. So Mandy is going to share today talking about her hotel conversion. I know the wonderful Julie Gates is going to jump on too, and she's amazing. So you're in store for just a great topic. I'm going to help be behind the scenes. If I see questions, if I can ask everyone to put questions in the Q&A box, please, because the chat tends to be busy, and I want to make sure we get to all your questions, or as many as we can. So I'll jump on. Mandy, what time do you think? 12:30-ish, 12:40-ish?
Yeah, about then. Yeah.
All right, awesome. The floor is yours, my friend. And just let me know when you want me to pull Julie in, and I'll do that.
You got it. You'll see a crazy picture of the both of us.
All right.
That'll be your cue.
My cue, all right.
Liz, I cannot thank you. I just want to start off the platform that you and Andressa have created to support women helping women. Just it is unparalleled, and you don't get enough high fives. You get a lot of high fives. You don't get enough of them. So I want to be somebody who tells you how much I benefit from InvestHer, and thank you. From the bottom of my heart for all of this.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. So guys, today we're going to look at a case study of small multis and short-term rentals equals motel. So basically, I am a small multis investor, and my business partner, who I partnered with on this deal, she does lots of short-term rentals, and that kind of led us into buying a motel. But why don't we start at square one with a little agenda? This is what we're going to talk about today. So first, I'm going to do a little introduction of myself. If you don't know me, I talk a lot, but I'll tell you a little bit about me and some background and my principles, because I feel like one thing that Liz said, and that I absolutely echo, is in this changing market, in any sort of a market, in life in general, the best way to make decisions is to have a well-developed set of principles, and that can guide your path and make things a lot easier to make decisions when there's a lot of uncertainty around you. I think that will help a little bit for shaping the how we got here, or how I got here in terms of doing this deal. And then I'm going to encourage you to look at a case study differently than how I used to look at case studies. And hopefully that leads to a little more learning. And then we're going to dig into the deal. So, what were the risks? What were the benefits? How did we mitigate some risk? And then, what were numbers going in? And then everybody's favorite, the HGTV before and after pics. And then we're going to show you how it's going with a couple of in place numbers, and then talk a little bit about partnership, and then we will take your questions. So first, hi, I'm Mandy. You know me, that's kind of how I always introduce myself, but that's my little guy, Duncan. He's 6 years old. It's my life's dream to get to be the mom who goes and gets to volunteer at field trips. And this was actually yesterday. This was our field day, and my big why of why I worked 2 full-time jobs for so long to realize this freedom of choice that I'm able to enjoy today. So anyway, I did a master's degree in economics. Right after that, I worked on the floor of the Board of Trade. I was in medical device sales for about 16 years. I was first interested in real estate investing in 1999. I was 19 years old, but I didn't buy anything until 2016. So if you're here just learning and picking up ideas and you haven't yet taken action, don't be Mandy and wait that friggin' long in order to take action, because nothing happens until you're actually making moves. So I'll talk a little bit about mitigating risk and how hopefully that will help you make some moves. But, in the, 19 years old to 35 years old, I didn't really do anything in terms of acquisition. But from 35 to 40, I was able to scale up to 317 units, including the 18 that we're going to talk about here, and was able to retire myself into a full-time investor, career pod, whatever you call it, by the age of 40, by kind of specializing in this small multis 4 to 50 unit space. So, let's talk a little bit about principles. For me, it's cash flow above all else. You've heard it before, you're going to hear it again here, but especially in a changing market, no matter the asset, if you're not going to cash flow, then you're going to lose that asset. And that is, in my opinion, worst case scenario. So cash flow really ends up being this defensive mechanism. You got to look where others aren't looking. So, just like Liz was saying, you really hit home runs if you're the one who's, jumping the line. If you're the one who is kind of pivoting in a direction that not everybody is pivoting. And in my opinion, I think that this deal kind of does that. As an example, the largest apartment complex I had done after a bunch of 4s and 6s was a 53 unit at the beginning of COVID. And, I chose to look at 50-ish unit properties rather than 100-ish unit properties, which is, if you play in the world of multifamily, you go to a weekend boot camp, whatever, they're going to teach you to look in these 5 markets. They're going to teach you to look at 100 units plus. Well, if you and all of the people there and all of the institutional money are looking at the same dang thing, you're going to have a very hard time being competitive. So my little joke is, if you're going to compete in a beauty pageant, maybe don't start with Miss America, right? Maybe start in your hometown where you have a real shot at winning. So another principle, if you have been part of a pod that I've had the distinct honor of leading, you'll know that I talk a lot about the problems get easier the more truth you put to them. You want to leave your W-2? Great. What's that look like? You just need to know what you need in order to get there. You want to take down an asset? Great. What does that look like? What's a worst case scenario? You can put truth to problems and then be able to reverse engineer things in order to move them forward. And again, nothing happens until you take action. Don't be 25-year-old Mandy who did nothing until she was 35. And then we talk about this a lot in the pod too. You've got to do what it takes to learn to trust your own judgment. Right? So if you're flailing into the darkness, you don't know if you're doing a good job or if that's a good decision, because you don't know if you can trust your own judgment. And what we talk a lot about in the Small Multis pod is you got to do the reps. You got to do your underwriting so that you know that you can trust your math, that you can trust your assumptions, that you can trust you and your own judgment. And if you're going to partner, your partner's strength should really be your weaknesses and vice versa. So in terms of how to look at a case study, so remember 19 to 35 when I kind of just did a lot of learning and then didn't really do a lot of action? Well, I would listen to case studies and I'd be like, oh, this person has it all figured out. Oh, the secret to happiness in life is to buy a motel. Well, no, that is not what I want you to take away. The secret to happiness is not buying a motel. The secret to happiness is learning like how to I'm in ambiguity, just like you. That I am, treading into like the darkness, trying to make my own decisions exactly the same way you are. So try to look at it from the before acquisition shoes, and then see if you might take away the same decisions as my partners and I did. So I encourage you to look at a case study like that, not like I have it all figured out. So let's dig into this deal. So it was previously called the Balsam Lake Terrace, the Balsam Lake Motel. It's 18 units near a lake in northern Wisconsin. It's kind of in the Minneapolis-St. Paul MSA, roughly an hour or so away. It was originally just listed on MLS, guys. So one big clue here is if stuff is listed in the wrong place, a commercial asset, generally speaking, is not listed on normal MLS. If you see a commercial asset listed on normal MLS, real clue that it might be undervalued. So it was listed for $390,000 and it was based off of comparables, not off a multiple of NOI. So if you have dug into the differences between, call it a single family home, residential home versus an investment like a small multi-property or larger, or a commercial asset like a motel, it should be based off of how much, but the price of the asset should be based off of a multiple of how much money it makes, because it's an investment, right? Not the comparables. We dig into that a lot in the small multis pod, but long story short, if you don't understand this, just know that it was misvalued. And frankly, this thing was being run as a long-term rental against municipality like laws and rules, and they would renew leases every 13 days so that they didn't get in trouble. So it was absolutely not being run at its highest and best, and it was listed in the wrong place, and there was lots of kind of, things that were flags that, hey, there might be a bunch of value to create here. So that was part of the reason we really liked it. Oh, there we go. Okay, like I mentioned, it was an hour and a half from Minneapolis-St. Paul. The town was only 1,000 people in population, but had a total lake culture. So, originally when this crossed my path, someone was talking about, ooh, I want to buy this. It's so cheap. I want to buy this and put in kitchens and convert it into apartments. In the world of multifamily, if you're playing in that right now, you've heard probably of a lot of people converting hotels, motels into long-term rentals by putting in kitchenettes, things like that. But, thinking through what the highest and best business plan might be for an asset like this in this location, a town of 1,000 people, yeah, there absolutely is a need for long-term rental in this area. But these units are like 300 square feet, guys. Like, think about it. If you got a 300 square foot apartment with no kitchen, like what kind of a renter rents that place long term? Like somebody who has absolutely no choice, right? So you're probably not the best renter in the whole world. So anyway, my thought was, ooh, I need to talk to my friend who is a short-term rental whiz, that this is really what she does, because this should be short-term rental. There is an unserved need. And, again, back to my put truth to a problem, it turned out once we did some digging in the town that there was a survey that the town paid for trying to court a Holiday Inn Express to come to town, a 50-unit build that they were trying to put into place. So it was obvious that there was a gap in terms of short-term rental demand. So we knew that this is something that would really help us make a well-informed decision. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the risks and the issues. Well, first off, investing at a FAR, and we again talk about this a lot in the Small Multis pod, is your backyard. In my opinion, if you can drive there in an hour or two, that is your backyard, right? And this is 6 hours from me, so it's a little further than my backyard, and I'm the close one. My business partner lives in Georgia, I'm in Chicago. This asset is in northern Wisconsin. There was extreme damage to a couple of units because of a police incident, and moderate damage to two others. And loans in this, so I come from small multis. I understand how to get a long-term rental loan. The type of lending that you get on something like this is completely different. So it's not as straightforward. I didn't really know what I was getting into. So that part was uncharted territory. For me, going into short-term rentals was completely uncharted territory. And for my business partner, she had never really done scale in a single transaction. So we're all kind of, oh gosh, how are we going to figure this out? And then the seasonality of a lake in northern Wisconsin is absolutely a risk that we're taking on. The building's a little bit older, and if you're in a rural area, there's only X number of vendors. There's only X number of people who might be able to help you, manage the cleaning or do a rehab or paint your units or whatever it is. So the number of people is less too, and we got incredibly lucky with all of the vendors and the way the town took care of us, but that's just a risk that we were kind of signing up for. So, understand when you're looking to take down an asset, all of these things continue to happen regardless of if you've done it before or not. So, what we chose to do was kind of go down the list and decide, how are we going to deal with this? Is this us risking a penny in order to try to make $1? So what is my worst case scenario? That's the question I wanted to ask in terms of, is it worth moving forward? So I had actual numbers that were estimated from, number one, all of the surrounding rental market. So I could go to Airbnb. If you don't know of data.raboo.com, DATA, get your pencil, guys. This is a good one. data.rabbu.com. You can punch in an address there, and it will for free scrub Airbnb to help you figure out what approximately a seasonalized average of revenue that you might be able to expect. So we looked at that. We looked at what that survey that had happened that the municipality paid for, to try to figure out, okay, we know approximately what it's going to cost us to run this thing. What will we be able to bring in potentially, and what will our occupancy rate be? So we knew from the 70 some page document that the town had paid for, that right now in the area, it was about a 40 to 50% seasonalized occupancy, with a rate of in the neighborhood of $55 to $60 a night. So that's as is in the current state. So I thought, let's just figure this out. Where's our break even point? So $60 a night at about a 20% occupancy, we're paying all our bills. And we know that it's currently doing as is 40%. And I really know that we can do better than that, right? So yes, this is absolutely a deal that I want to sign on to. So I will really encourage you, if you feel fearful in terms of doing a deal, the first thing you should do is investigate that fear. What is the actual worst case scenario? How do you figure that out? How do you put truth to that problem to know how you're going to deal with it? For me, for this asset and in many that I do, it's a stress test like this to try to put truth to that problem. So then on August 6th, we ended up closing on the deal. We were under contract in December. It took forever to get an appraiser to come out to rural northern Wisconsin in order to appraise it for us. That's what took so long. But by August 6th, the closing was at 8 a.m. So I got in my little car in Chicago at 2 a.m. to leave to drive up. It was a very fun day. But now our business plan, we get to start executing it. So the building is comprised of all 18 units are within 3 buildings. So we're going to rehab it in 3 phases. The first 2 buildings were really just kind of a cosmetic, really smelly and yucky and unclean, but cosmetic lift. So we're going to get those 10 units up and running as quickly as possible. The larger, the heavy and moderate rehabs that need to happen because of the damage happen in building 3. We're going to deal with that later. We're going to make it look super boutique-y, cute, make it like a mid-scale. Like we're not looking for 5 stars. We are not a 5-star service type of a place. This ain't the Ritz, people. We keep calling it fisherman chic is our aesthetic. It's very pretty, but it's very comfortable for the fishermen who take advantage of the lake. So my business partner, this is where she comes in. She's a whiz with Airbnb and VRBO, and she also has worked really hard to figure out the Travelocities and the Expedias. And she's actually, I don't know if it's official or not, but consulting with Expedia because of these gaps that exist for short-term rentals. So, really digging into the technology of this stuff has been really instrumental. And then completely rebranding it under the name Outdoors Inn at Balsam Lake, because I love a pun. I mean, how good is that pun, guys? That's really, anyway. And then we're partnering with the local municipality, really leaning on the current business owners, some of whom I want to give you one more tip that I forgot to include here is we, engaged the Chamber of Commerce. If you go into a new municipality, then I really encourage you to get involved with the Chamber of Commerce, because, talking to the people who are in charge of that, they told us the vendors we should be working with. One woman said, "Ooh, have you thought about looking for grant money?" I'm like, say more words, right? Anyway, so I did this search and I ended up talking to the director of economic development of that county and then his boss for the state, and ended up finding a $10,000 grant that we qualified for to help us make this business a better thing. So a grant is basically a loan you don't pay back. Right? So that was free money because we're doing the right thing for this municipality and making stuff happen. So be nice, ask good questions, and follow up on stuff. Okay, so let's talk about the actual what we acquired here. So you can see from these before pictures, I mean, it's what you expect from like kind of a 1960s roadside, like mismatched quilts, this like super interesting orangey guy over here, the art. I mean, it's what you'd expect, right? But this is the asset that was supposedly previously achieving 40% occupancy at roughly a 55 or 60% rate. So let's talk more about before. I mean, it's just meh is, I think, the right word. Meh. So then what did we do? So we went in with a full more of the meh, because I know you girls like meh. Okay. So then we completely rebranded it under this Outdoors Inn. Guys, don't overcomplicate stuff, like keep it simple. But I made this on Canva. I made this logo guy on Canva, and then we posted it to Facebook and said, all right, guys, give us feedback. And we ended up in the direction of, a logo that I think really represents the clean, aesthetic that we're looking for. So we really focused on, we want this to be comfortable for our guests, right? And if you are a fisherman, think about your avatar. Do this in long term, do this in short term. Do not overcomplicate this stuff. Who is the person who's going to end up in the thing that you're putting together, right? If it's a fisherman who's been on the lake all day, what does he want? He doesn't need, a ton of stuff. Like he just needs a really comfy bed, a really good towel. So we got, really good linens and a really comfy bed. And we just, made everything as comfortable as possible, because they just need a place to sleep so that they can get out on the lake again super early. We, didn't spend a ton. We repainted a bunch of the furniture that we had black. We, tied this one buffalo plaid kind of throughout everything to be the one common thread. So again, we acquired this on April 6th. We had a couple rentable units early May able to be rented, but about the 10th or 11th, we had all 10 units rentable on these on all of the platforms that we were talking about. So this is our actual statement of rentals that happened for the first, call it 2/3 of a month that we were in business. So we are achieving like a $70-ish rent right now, or I guess it's a rental income, right? So it's a short-term rental. I always come to it from the long-term stuff. So I'm trying to remember the appropriate verbiage now that I'm a short-term rental host as well. But we're getting $70-ish. I mean, that in terms of our stress test is moving in the right direction. So roughly just under half, just over half of our units are now rentable. 10 out of the 18. We're still doing rehab on the final 8. And just over, call it just over half of the month. And we're paying our bills. You don't expect a deal to ramp up and be, perfect from day one, but we are now call it day 60. And we are, paying our bills, and our business plan is rolling out. We have a lot of work to do. But as it stands right now, we've collected from May, roughly $3,600 from those 10 units. But we are absolutely ramping up. This is the system that Julie has been employing in terms of keeping track of when we have reservations. And you can see that we are fully booked on weekends. And this July 4th time, we're getting a significantly higher nightly rate there. So let's talk a little bit partnership. So I absolutely, Julie, if you're there, and Liz, if you could maybe bring our girl up.
I got you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. I know how to structure the financial stuff. There's my girl. I know how to structure the financial stuff. I know that is kind of the take down an asset thing, the larger, the mid-sized multifamily, that I'm good at that. I know jack squat about marketing things on Airbnb and keeping guests happy and responding quickly. I belong to a mastermind. Liz is actually a member too, that, I met Julie through this mastermind, just very much like the Strive membership, very much like Invest Her. Making friends and talking to people about what it is that they do really is, helps you learn. And I had this huge gap. And when this hit my table, I said, oh my gosh, you got to talk to my friend Julie. Whatever you do, this needs to be a short-term rental, and you need to talk to Julie. So she has all of my weakness around short-term rental. And I just wanted to bring you on for a quick second, Julie, and give your 2 cents on the project, if you don't mind.
Well, I don't want to crash your fabulous talk. So thank you. It's good to see everyone. And I'm really proud of this project, and I'm really proud of my partnership with Mandy. I want to keep it real with you guys and say, we're going to do really well with this hotel in the future, and we are making a little bit of money, but it's been a sacrifice. And Mandy and I really pushed ourselves. She and I did not go into this just knowing everything. We definitely learned as we went. And I want to give Mandy a shout out for those of you that resonate with this. I just want to repeat again, Mandy's a single mom. And we sacrificed a ton of time and energy going to Wisconsin and living there pretty much. And it was tough. And I'm not a single mom, so I can't get as much cred. But, as women, we're so dialed in to our families first and ourselves second. And we had to keep focusing on how we were really building this for our families and for our futures and where we were going. That's kind of what kept both of us going. I watched Mandy, cry after putting her son to bed on her iPhone, several nights. And I cried through a baseball game that I missed. And I sent my son while I was doing all this. I just want you to be aware, we were working hard, and I had to send my son to doctor's appointments with friends because my husband couldn't take him. I missed a lot of baseball games. I missed a giant award ceremony. Again, I sent friends. But now it was tough. But I'm so proud of it. And now it's rolling without us being there all the time. So we had to really put that time in for, what would you say, Mandy? Maybe 5 weeks. We were gone more than we were home.
Yeah.
But really, with great success comes from great sacrifice. And I don't want anyone to think it was simple, but I'm so proud. And it's becoming more and more passive for both of us as the days go by. And I'm so proud of it. So I just want to encourage you guys, don't be afraid to take the hard road. It's going to be hard, but that's how you're going to get ahead. Sitting on your couch and eating bonbons, it's not going to bring you passive income. You're going to have to put the time in, but it's just been so wonderful, such a wonderful experience. And I think Mandy and I both are going to have opportunities that come from this because we put in the work, because we sacrifice time with our children and our men and our families and friends. And I'm really proud of this project. I don't look that cute in this photo, but I just want to say what a great job Mandy has done through this whole thing.
Well, kudos to you too. And the thing is too, like, we are very good friends, and I want to, like, again, keep it real, because so much of this, if you listen to a lot of podcasts, a lot of them are like, I used to be poor and now I'm rich. Guys, like, that is not how it goes. Like, we were dirty and crying and in pain because of the things that we had. Like, it literally is hard work. We maybe swang a few more hammers than we needed to, but we kind of had to because of the rural setting and the help that we were able to garner. But also just in terms of the partnership, like, it's very good. Our partnership is really good. And my stuff that I don't know is stuff that Julie knows, and kind of vice versa. But end of the day, communication is key, guys. Because there have been some conversations to, like, oh shoot, like I dropped that ball. Like, that's on me. Like, whatever that is, if you are going to be communicating, if you're going to be doing a partnership, it is so imperative that you figure out the appropriate cadence of communication so that everything can get done and that there's not balls dropped. And it's, I will say that we're now doing a weekly call that is kind of a non-negotiable. We keep, moving it occasionally because of stuff that goes on, but it is an important part of our week so that we can continue to move things forward. So, end of the day, get really intellectually curious about whatever it is that you're doing. My curious questions to Julie over tequila shots in Mexico got me to the point that I really wanted to do some short-term rental stuff. And then when this hit my desk, I knew that this is something that her eyes needed to be on, especially. So ask all the questions, be an open book. And, so much of communication and partnership is coming at things in the right way. Like, I know with 1000% certainty that Julie's heart is exactly where it needs to be, and her work ethic is unparalleled. Those are things that I never question. We do sometimes question, like, or she'll question me, like, how are you approaching this? Do you think this could be a better way? You have to be able to have hard conversations in a partnership in order for it to work. So I value you so much, my friend. I'm so grateful for you. And if you have short-term rentals, you need to know Julie Gates, people.
Oh.
Yeah, Julie, why don't you stay on for the rest of the presentation and Q&A? That'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay, absolutely.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Here we are.
So best way to reach me if you want, mandymcallister.com. I, so incredibly pleased to have the opportunity to speak to you all. And if you are a member of Strive, would be thrilled to host you in the short term or in the small multi-spot.
God, my blurry thing here is not working. That was amazing. Hey, Julie, how are you?
I am great. And Mandy, that was fantastic.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Good to see you, Julie.
Thank you.
So let's do some Q&A. I think before we do Q&A, I really appreciate you, Julie and Mandy, sharing the sacrifice piece. I think the mom guilt is real, and it's not all roses and sunshine. I'm traveling to Dallas to speak, and on the same day, my son is having his first dance, and my daughter's going to her kindergarten orientation. Right. Two things that honestly I would not have won. They're like 10 out of 10 for me. But it is what it is, right? So we all make sacrifices on one hand for something else, and exploring that and being very real with it is something we certainly stand for. So thank you, Julie, for kind of bringing that to light, and Mandy sharing your path and your partnership. Partnerships are hard, but they're really powerful when you find the right ones and you cultivate those relationships. And these are two fantastic women that have built a beautiful project. So I just wanted to say that. So let's get some questions. We got some kind of questions around, we got a lot of questions going on. So I'm going to fire them to both of you. Whoever wants to answer them, please feel free. Hey, Mary Hart, how are you? I know Mary. What software do you use to keep track of bookings from multiple rentals?
Julie question.
This is fun. This would be like
this is
like
complicated.
the game.
It's software that I've developed and it hasn't launched yet, but it will. But it's called the Sid system. So if you, I've had a lot of people ask because there's a need in this space. I now do hotels, yay, and I also do a lot of what I call long shorts, which is 30 days or more. And there hasn't been software to do all three of these combined. So I developed it, and it is coming soon. So if you're interested, follow Sid Was Here on social media, and we will announce it. But I'm just not quite there. We're in beta testing. I'm the only one that has it. So anyway, it's coming. I'm sorry.
That's so exciting.
That's a great question. It's all about your systems, you guys. You have to have good technology to run a short-term rental. It's a full-on technology space.
And understand there have been bumps along this way.
Yeah.
So like we're taking the licks at Outdoor Zen. Yeah. It's moving in the right direction in a big way.
So exciting.
Oh, and I want to say too, Mandy and I both, I hope I can speak with you, Mandy. Like, we want other opportunities in this realm. We're going after it. If they come, we've gone after every single one. But Mandy and I we're going to cut our teeth on our own property. No one's going to yell at me because I messed up, on this hotel. I mean, Mandy could, but I'm just saying, like, we're learning on our own project. And then maybe when we get other partners in the future, we're like, oh yeah, we already know how to do this. So start small, you guys, whatever it is that your passion is, make it yours, start small, figure it out. You're going to learn the most on your first
What's
rental.
The small bet you can take so that you can learn from that small bet?
Get that learning curve out of the way on your own stuff and then take on bigger projects.
Great advice. All right, next question. They're asking for the name of the software in the chat. So while I ask the next question, Julie, put your social media follow part, whatever it's called. All right, MJ, thanks for being here, MJ. How did you find a reputable property manager and cleaners in this area? Since it sounds like you had a hard time finding other people.
So that was actually one of our very lucky breaks. I had been leading kind of an accountability group, and one of the women that I knew from that was an investor in Wisconsin. Places like Invest Her Meetup, right? It was exactly like an Invest Her Meetup. I just said to my friend who I knew from that, who was investing in Wisconsin, do you know anybody who's doing short-term stuff in this area? She said, you got to call this lady Laura. I did. Julie and I interviewed her. Julie handles the property management piece of the computer stuff, but the on-site, the doorknob needs to be changed, and the, linens need to be changed. That's our girl Laura, and it was kind of just word of mouth, and again, just intellectual curiosity, asking the right questions.
Networking.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. You want to answer them, Julie?
Well, I was just going to say, Mandy's great at this as well, but one of my superpowers has always been, if I'm excited about something, I'm going to talk about it for hours, and everyone's going to know what I'm doing. And that's what Mandy was doing. She was talking about what she had going on, and that's how she found this very valuable contact. So whatever you're into, like, say it. Like, it doesn't matter. Just talk. Tell all your friends, and you'll be amazed what comes to you from that.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. People can't help you if they don't know how to help you, right?
Exactly.
All right. So what type of loan did you end up getting to fund this?
Ooh, I love this question. So knowing that this is not like your normal residential or larger multifamily deal, like, it kind of needed to be a local bank. And then this was a happy accident. This was not my brainchild, but this is exactly what I'm going to do if this ever happens again. This is an underperforming asset when we acquired it. This was a real problem child. And the bank who had the loan on their books was a little bit nervous that this group would default. So I went and said, hey, bank, here's Mandy's resume. This is the stuff that I've done, and here's my liquidity. Here's Julie. Here's what she's done. Here's her liquidity. We're going to do a better job with this, and you can be safe with us. So we would like the same terms as the previous group got. So we were able to get a 7-year term loan that was inclusive of our rehab. So we were able to borrow 80% after repair value at a 4% rate for 7 years in this atmosphere. So it was all a happy little accident, but it's because we were a better risk than the previous borrowers.
Mandy, I'm curious. So you, during due diligence, is when you were, obviously they shared that information of which bank to go to. And then you just reached out to them, created a relationship? Like, how did you embark on that? Because I think, the being able to do that kind of having those connections and being able to have those conversations is really important, right? And to do it in a way that works for women. So how did you embark on that? How did you manage that?
Honestly, like, this is one of those things that could be super mega complicated, or you could keep it real simple. And I very much subscribe, and Julie and I say this all the time, the keep it simple method, like let's not overcomplicate this. I just Googled the bank and I found the guy. I said, hey, I'm interested in a loan for a motel. I understand that you've done this type of loan before. Who's your guy? And I did that at a couple different banks and then realized I had more leverage at the place that held the loan. So we ended up going with the previous lender, but we try to never just pick one, I guess is my advice. Always have conversations with a couple, and frankly, Google and then be nice and then follow up. Because that banker did not call me back because he's uber busy, because he's the only guy who does that stuff in the area.
Right. So you just have to show up and do somersaults or whatever you have to do, right? Sometimes you get attention.
And if anyone's curious, Mandy and I both personally guaranteed the loan equally, so we're both responsible for 50% if it fails. But I have no problem doing that. Like, I really believed in the project. I believed in the numbers and I believed in what we were doing. And if that's a question, I know sometimes people want to know if we guaranteed it, and we did.
How much did you put down? I'm sorry if you answered that already, Mandy.
So in total, it was 40,000 ish to close, and then 40,000 each to close, and then 10,000 each to seed our operations account. But we were able then to also borrow back that 80 for rehab.
Construction. Oh, awesome.
Exactly.
That's great.
So we're actually kind of no dollars in the deal.
So cool. This is a great case study. I love it. One of many. Okay, Siobhan. Hey, Siobhan. Are you taking direct bookings as well through your own website, or just marketing it via Airbnb and VRBO?
Great question. You pay Airbnb and VRBO if someone books through that. So if you'll remember the thing I showed you that showed the commissions, that was for the websites that we book through. If they book on our own website, which Julie's virtual assistant, who does a really great job, developed for us. So it's outdoorsin@balsamlake.com. I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, they save about 20% booking direct, and the sign alone just brought so much, like, oh my gosh, they changed the hotel finally. So that what you saw actually that Mandy pulled from our software, that's all of the bookings from any channel. But as far as the guests, they save quite a bit if they book direct. So they save Airbnb tax on like 17%. For example, Expedia is about 22%. So we love direct bookings, but it doesn't matter if ultimately the guest is going to pay the extra difference there.
Great. I think, we did the funding, so we're going to skip that. Hey, Elizabeth, it sounds like you actually converted back from a long-term rental use to essentially a motel. What were the differences between this as a 5+ unit being rented short-term rental and a 1 to 4? So, okay, she's saying, what's the differences between this as a 5+ unit being rented as a short-term rental and a 1 to 4? So something larger versus something smaller.
So it was 2 owners ago was a motel. The owner before us even had a motel license and had to say to the municipality, I'm running this as a motel. But they would every 13 days renew their rental agreements so that they could keep people in there long-term. So to say it was a long-term rental is, true and not true because it was not allowed, right? Like they had the motel license. So in terms of the 5+ and the 1 to 4 thing, the big piece of that is like what type of a loan you can get on it. We dig super deep into this in the small multis pod, but basically you can get a normal residential loan like you do on your primary residence up to 4 units. It has to fit into a perfect little box for lending with the debt to income stuff, but you go 5+, you get into the commercial lending realm. So that I don't know if that's what you're asking, but I think it might be.
Also want to get in on this really quick and say I come from a short-term rental perspective, and I lost my train of thought. Crap, I'm sorry.
Short-term rentals are harder to get lending on.
Oh, but I'm sorry. The attractive thing to me was the licensure of the hotel. The town wanted a hotel. We wanted it to be a hotel. But in this environment, people worry about buying a short-term rental and getting it shut down. Okay. I deal with this every day. That's my big part of my job. I now have a licensed motel. They aren't going to shut us down. They want us. We're licensed. So that's a big deal. So I want to say to you guys, this market is crazy. And I know everyone out there is having a hard time finding deals. And Mandy and I were able to look under a rock where no one else was even looking. And we ended up getting a fully licensed, you can't take it away unless we totally screw up, licensed short-term rental / hotel. And I'm really proud of that fact. So be aware, if you're worried about things like regulation, look at small motels. You might do very well.
I love that. And the fact that you found on the MLS is even better. I think that's the key right now, right? It's just reuse and just dealing with hard things or things that need some love and care, but making it work. So it's awesome. Okay. Savannah is asking, how did you underwrite a short-term rental property when the rental income is not consistent? Or how do you?
So for me, it's twofold. And so much of any underwriting is, what are these worst case scenarios and what is my optionality? Like if you look at the grant, like the Warren Buffett investing stuff, they talk about margin of safety, right? So I feel a strong margin of safety in a short-term rental is what would it rent long-term? This is if we're talking a single unit. So if you also then figure out what it could rent out for long-term, if something happens like what Julie was saying, and you have to convert to a long-term rental, you want to know what those finances are on that piece too. But frankly, a lot of it had to do with that stress test. That's that kind of red green thing that I did. Basically we were able to say that if we keep rental rates at $60, we break even in terms of all of the bills we have to pay if we have a 15-ish% occupancy. So knowing where our guardrails are was more important to me than knowing exactly my take home at the end of the year.
It's great. Awesome. Okay. Software is definitely in the chat box, so check that out. Tulu, hopefully I'm saying your name right. I don't know if this was covered already, but how did you all find this opportunity? So if you want to cover that again.
Yep. Well, it was, my attention was drawn to it because it was listed on the MLS.
Very cool. How do you work with you kind of did the financing piece. Yes, you guys did a 50-50 split. As a new investor, trying to wrap my head around financing. Yeah. And it can be a little overwhelming, financing, especially structuring partnerships, but there's a lot of creative ways to do it and just start to learn about it, people that have done it before. And I was just recording a mini-sode about this today. I think when people are learning things, we want to learn it all. Like we just want to learn A to Z. And what these two amazing women did so beautifully with this is that they just took one step forward and said, what's the worst case scenario? Analyzed it with what they know, got their expertise together, partnered, and made it happen, right? And worked their tails off. So it's just small micro steps, remember. So if financing is something you want to learn more about, start to listen to as many podcasts you can about financing real estate investments, reading books, and then start to ask questions, but don't ask hey, I want to learn about financing in general. Not that your question wasn't good here. I meant, and then you'll get specific. So ask that specific question once you've learned things, and then learn more things. So don't get overwhelmed. Just little steps, everyone. It's really, we get overwhelmed. I know I do if I'm learning something new, but it's one step.
I learn by doing. I can't just read 17 books and then go do something. I just don't have the attention span. I don't. I took a good bit of knowledge and then just went for it. And I figured the rest out as I went. And that's life, you guys. Any job you take, no one's going to tell you before you get in that job exactly what you're in for and what you have to know. That's life. Sometimes you just have to figure it out.
And think about it too. This is a $326,000 purchase price, right? That's a lot of money. That is definitely a lot of money, especially if it's your first deal. But playing in multifamily, that is not a tremendous, especially divided by 2, I'm on the hook for half of that. I would buy a $160,000 house, no problem, as kind of my test dummy on something.
Well, and there are people buying rental properties, single families, for that price or more today. And we got 18 units. Okay. 18. If you look at the price per door, it was staggering. And we only have 10 units open right now. I want to be clear on that. And 8 more are coming, hopefully in the next month or 2. But that's a great purchase. I'm just saying.
A phenomenal purchase. I remember you telling me about it, Mandy. I'm like, oh my, I don't even know all the numbers, but it sounds amazing. That's awesome. Okay. Bianca, you're asking, would using a private lender also be an option?
always, but I mean, it's going to be more expensive money, right? Like it goes back to putting truth to the problem. How much does that cost you and how much money are you going to make, right?
Yeah. The key with private lenders, because we have worked with so many of them over the years, is that you have to get into a project that is a true value add. Mm-hmm. So in other words, a private lender is a short-term loan, right? 6 to 12 months. If you get into something that's more turnkey or just needs a little bit of value add, you're not going to be able to refinance it and then pull that money back. Obviously, what both of you have created, tremendous value add, right? So had they used a private lender, I'm sure you would have no problem paying them back. But that's always the question you have to ask yourself. If I use a private lender, is this project going to yield? If I buy it, fix it up, and then refinance it, am I going to be able to pull the private lender's money out and be able to keep the relationship with the bank at a good loan to value, because that's changing right now, right? So I know investors are like, hold on, you told me 75%, now you're changing, so you have to be mindful of all those pieces. But just think private lending, you have to add so much value so you can pull the money out to pay them back their money as well as their interest. So just 2 cents there. Renee, can you talk about the seasonality of it?
For sure. So, I mean, it's northern Wisconsin and it gets cold there, guys. Sweet Savannah, Georgia, Julie Gates had to buy a bunch of extra sweatshirts in order to be up in Balsam Lake, Wisconsin. But, the bulk of the season is the summer months when people can be on the lake, when people can be fishing or skiing or whatever. However, there is a yet to be seen winter contingent because they snowmobile on the frozen lake in the winter time. So we're not totally clear on what the business plan will be for year 2 in the winter time versus this first year. But, basically, long story short, Renee, the demand for it, the travel is different in the different times of the year. So trying to figure out the guardrails on that.
This first year is going to be a huge learning curve for Mandy and I. Every month we're going to be watching the data, watching the numbers, and then but we're also going to keep cash reserves. I'm personally not really expecting to take a whole lot out of it year 1. Mm-hmm. Any furnished rental, you're not making a ton year 1 anyway. I'm okay with that. I'm not in so much cash, that I'm just desperate for it back, So this is an experiment. We're going to build up our reserves for the winter. We're going to see how it goes, and we're going to learn the whole way.
That's a really good point. So if you're venturing into something that is cyclical, that is, it's in many ways, a long-term rental is a little safer because it's a predictable thing, right? It's not predictable to be in short-term rentals or a motel. So my need for cash reserves entering into this, potential recessionary environment. I want to maybe say something on that because I can't take off my economics hat. It's so important to have the cash reserves right now. However, if you look at the money supply, Google M1, the money supply, and I'll put a chart in the chat that basically we have printed so much money that I feel like hard assets are going to continue to go up. This is just a Mandy opinion that locking in something hard asset right now, I think is really great news. But also, what happens during recession if you're a family? Maybe you don't spend $2,000 to fly down to Disney with your 3 kids, but you're maybe going to take a trip to the local lake. So I feel like in terms of there might be a play in terms of a recessionary vacation here as well.
Okay. I think we got most of these. I'm trying to look at other questions.
Can I address the question about the amenities? I think it's a really great question.
Yes.
And Mandy, of course, the question is, are we adding amenities? No. I live by the keep it simple, stupid. I don't live there. Mandy doesn't live there. And we're going to run this as a motel. We add a little bit here and there, but my plan is to keep this simple and make it run like a top. And I'm going to run it from a distance, and I'm going to rely on my local team. And I don't want to kill my local team by going, hey, we're adding 3 hot tubs. We're adding this, we're adding that. You know what? Let's keep it simple. So maybe later, but we do not have any immediate plans to add amenities. They're very nice. There are fridges now in each unit that work, just little minor amenities, but we aren't planning to add any major amenities. Again, the biggest thing, fish cleaning station, maybe.
And it already exists, but we're going for a 3-star place, right? We're very comfortable, boutique-y feel, but this is not the Ritz. We don't want to be the Ritz. We don't want to compete in Miss America. We are in the 800 town in the beauty pageant.
Such a good point, because even with multifamily, it's large multi, you could put so many amenities in, and you have to know what your customer wants and needs. You're not going to put a gym at every multifamily large, acquisition, because it's not going to fit maybe the type of property you're putting, that you're renovating, but it may fit for other environments and other, areas. So it's not all created equal. You have to know what you want to do, and it's important. I think we got a lot of these questions. What led you to the market? Can you please software? We got that in the chat box. Julie, you got some women who want your software, which is super cool. All right, exit strategy, your goal and your timeline. I think such a great question, Katie. So I'd love to hear both of your perspectives of what your long-term goals are with it.
With every acquisition for me, it's a buy and watch strategy. Like I buy something with the intent to hold for the cash flow above all else. That's one of my principles, right? But if I am going to be offered something ridiculously out of this world, then I'm going to be open to selling it. And given the NOI projections that we've got, this is going to be, a potential windfall in a couple of years. So my intent right now is to go through the hiccups of year one, implement a stronger, more buttoned up version of our business plan year two, and then see what the market has to give us. We've had a couple of pretty interesting conversations around tokenizing the sale of this, because I don't know, that seems very up and coming and interesting, but I don't know. But year three, we're definitely going to look at stuff.
Love it. Mary wants to know how you came up with Sid Was Here.
Oh, okay. Well, 2 seconds back on what Mandy was saying. I'm a very much a long-term buy and hold person. I don't tend to, I hate selling real estate. I always say, don't kill the chickens. They lay these beautiful eggs. So I love my long-term stuff. But this hotel, I'm excited. Like we have so many exit strategies, and every one of you, even if you buy a single family home, you need to have multiple exit strategies on that. Okay. I want to say that very clearly. So I probably would be open to selling just because it's so far, but if it's a great little chicken, it's laying a bunch of eggs, maybe we keep it. But yeah, I am interested in tokenizing. Sid was here. Sid is a squirrel, and my son runs a squirrel rescue, and I see squirrels everywhere. So I named my company after the first squirrel that my son Josh rescued. She's beautiful. And there's a photo of her on our homepage if you're ever interested. But yeah, we let her I have an Airbnb on my property, and the guests get to hold baby squirrels if they're in season. So it's kind of fun. I'm kind of weird, but I enjoy it.
I love it.
Embrace the weird, I always say.
I love it. Embrace the weird. I love it. I think we got to everyone's questions, and we're almost at the hour. So I just wanted to thank you both. This was amazing. Love hearing how you took this, the building as is, and just what you converted it to, and not all the roses and sunshine, and some of the sacrifices and conversations and tears. We all can relate, and I just really appreciate you both sharing the authenticity of it, because it's not helping anyone if we just talk about case studies or real estate investing and make it really glorious, because it's not, and I think the more
fell down and made $5 million. It was amazing. No.
But I love it. So I just appreciate you both. And these two ladies, follow them, know what they're doing. They're doing some amazing things. Both of you are such wealth of knowledge. You're both involved. I see you both kind of responding and stuff on our investor community. So I appreciate you both being involved in the community and everything. So thanks so much for being here. And thank you for everyone joining us today. You both are getting some great acclimates here. And you both gave your contact info, right? I'm pretty sure you both did. So, all right, we're good to go. Well, thank you both. Any last words, Mandy, Julie?
Guys, we are all in this together. Like the ambiguity that is in front of us and the figuring out what next right step to take. Every single one of us that you think has our stuff together, we're in the same boat, right? So figure out that next right step, make a little bet, try to risk a penny to make a dollar, and go make it happen.
Awesome. Julie, any last words?
No, what she said. Mandy's amazing. I'm so blessed. She's making me look good. It's all Mandy. Okay. I just showed up with 50K. That's all I did.
Well, everyone really appreciate your presentation. This is going out to all the folks that registered, which was a couple hundred, actually a few hundred. So a lot of folks will see this powerful presentation. So thank you both. And thank you everyone for joining us. Have a good rest of your day.
Safe travels, Liz.
All right. Thank you. Bye guys.